Hello my green fans and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to the first of many tutorials that I think and I hope that I will be able to do in the future for this channel. After uploading episode 5 of Agram City, I was thinking what kind of a tutorial I could make for this channel, and what I decided on is an in-depth tutorials on how to detail stuff and how to use mods to your advantage. So before we deep dive into the tutorial, I really want to say thank you for all the support on episode 5 of Agram City, and also to welcome all the new subscribers since that episode. So let's go with the tutorial. For today we will need of course some custom assets, and we will of course need some mods, and one of the most important for today's tutorial is procedural objects. Of course, you will find the links to the assets and mods in the description of this video, so that you can easily find them later on for your own use. Today we will deep dive into the shops and how to make them custom, and how to later on use the same parts for other shops so that we can get more variety. So as I say, we will need some assets, and to be more specific, we will need an asset that is made in a particular way so that we can achieve this look and use PO to our advantage. And today that is a Chanel shop that is a little commercial building that I found that is perfect to do what we need to do today. I am sure that many of you do know how the assets are made, and that is by 3D modeling and texturing the assets and later on importing them into the game. Some asset creators basically when they are modeling do one big piece where everything is connected together, while the others use the technique where they can just go and split some parts up after they are done so that they can easily texture them, which gives us an advantage for using them for PO. PO has many features, but the one that we will use today gives us access to the vertices of the models, and then we can separate pieces and use them differently than the asset creator has intended. And the first thing that we will do to the asset, we will turn it into PO by clicking the Procedural Objects button on the top right corner of your games, or using the shortcut that you set up in the settings. Every PO object has a little plus sign that we can click on and open a menu. In that menu then we click on Edit and we can manipulate the model. And basically what we will open is a bigger window with more options and a little gizmo that will show up in a place where the plus sign used to be, with 3 general tools. And these general tools are Move, Scale and Rotate. To get to the other tools, you basically click on the name of the tool, like you click on the position to get scale. And that is what we are going to do to this asset. We will turn it into PO, click on the plus sign, go to Edit, and then switch to Scale. And then we will use the page up on the keyboard so that we can make the asset bigger, that we see better what we are doing. Next thing that we are going to do is click on the button customization in that big window that you see on the screen, so that we can access vertices and start separation process. This part now is more trial and error, because sometimes it is very hard to see which vertices is from what, and in some cases it is very easy to recognize what part belongs to what vertex. Here what we are going to do, we will use the marquee tool by clicking the right mouse button and dragging the selection to select multiple vertices, or click with the left one on just individual vertices to add them to selection. But while doing that we need to hold Ctrl on the keyboard so that everything is in the same selection. As you saw in this case of this fabric awning, it was really easy to separate it because the asset creator made it as a separate piece in the modeling process. And to separate it, we will click and hold on some of the vertices in the selection and move it away from the model. Next thing that we want to separate is shop front windows, and that can be a little bit tricky because sometimes some vertices can be overlapping with each other. But here you can just try, and if it's the wrong one you can Ctrl Z and then you undo what you did before, and then just try again. Now we are going to copy this asset several times because we will need it later, and we will use general position tool of the procedural objects to do that. And we are going to move the asset in some direction, but while holding control on the keyboard, it basically makes a copy of the same asset. Next tools we are going to use is merge vertices, that basically turns multiple into one, and then we will use recenter the object just so that we can have the center really in the center relative to other vertices. Now, in the first instance of an object, we will merge away main part of the building, and we will move that one vertex closer to the shop front window so that we can hide it. And in the next one we will just leave the awning so that we can have it as a separate object. And in the last one we will merge away everything except the logo that we separated. And of course for each we move the merge vertex closer to the center of each object, and we use recenter object's origin so that it's easier to manipulate the object later. Now that we have our separate objects, we can group them and put them somewhere safe. In the general tool of the procedural object, we also have text customization, which allows us to write on the object or put rectangle in different colors to hide or to change stuff on the texture. And that is what you see on the screen now, where we will use white rectangle to hide the logo so that we can have a plain white awning. Procedural Objects mode can also change all the textures to some others that you have locally or you download it from the workshop. This is just an example where we are changing the texture for a solid color PNG, but I'm sure that it is possible with a little bit trial and error to make a custom logo texture that would sit nicely on the awning and make it custom. And now off camera I prepared this nice little corner with the customized street with some trees and nice lamps, and we will choose a corner building that will suit the purpose. Ideally we want to choose the building for the corner that already has some sort of shops or inlet windows that we can use for the separate pieces that we made earlier. And this one has very nicely modeled ground floor that we can use and customize to make it our own. So now that we have our building, we moved it a little bit away from the street and put a little bit more pavement so it looks nicer. With the help of PO Cube, we will use the solid white color texture and we will start building the entrance to the shop. I also use Move It mode to align the cube to the building. As you can see there you have a circle with two arrows, and that is rotation tool that helps align things. And what we want to achieve here is to get a portal kind of entrance that is a little bit more custom and that it's looking more high-end than just the regular entrance to the shop. Now we will copy one of the instances and we will use the one with all of the parts. Next we are going to scale it down using page down button because now it is too big for what we need it for. And now we will also align it to the building and then go to the customization and grab vertices that are from the center of the shop, the entrance, and move it close to the building and align it and position it in place. I will also play a little bit with the scale of the right pillar, just so that I can get the scale I want and the look I want. When I am happy with the scale, I will copy it to the left side to get the left pillar, but I will also copy it once more, then do undo, just so that I can have two copies of the same pillar on the same place, so that I can make a top part more easily. Here it all basically comes to using the customization tool of Procedural Objects to stretch a cube in different shapes. When we are happy with the entrance that we made, then we will adjust it and position it as we want it, and then here we will merge away everything that we don't need. Now I selected multiple plus signs from the PO objects with the marquee tool and then just make them in a group. After I did that, I simply copied them with the move it and positioned them on the other side of the building. And to rotate this piece in place just more easily, you can hold Alt while you are rotating it with move it, because then it is moving and rotating in increments on 15 degrees and it makes it much easier. Now I will again use the PO cube and my local texture that I uploaded to the workshop, so you can find it there, and I will use it to prepare the shop front windows that will be for the displaying of clothes, just so that we can make them more high-end and more custom. Here you can also see me align objects with Procedural Objects mod, because it has also a line option, and you just choose the object, click on Align tool, and then choose the other one, and it will match the rotation of the object. To get to Align tool, as I showed you here, you just click on the plus sign and instead of Edit you click More, and there you have other options you can choose. Here in Customization tool as well, you can see a button Advanced Edition tool that helps us make tiles look smaller by changing the tiling of this texture. And then we copied that prepared little cube and we placed it in the windows that we want to use for the shop. Now I took the second instance of an object and just merged away the center part, the awnings and the logo, and what I was left with was the left and right shop front window that we will use to create the custom shop front windows as well. And the same as before, we will need of course to scale it down, rotate it, and then just take the parts that we want in the customization part of the tool and then just move in position the nodes and vertices of the windows that we want to use in each place. And here I quickly use the last instance where we just have the logo and place it on the entrances on each side. And to give this build more detail, we use the separated awnings that we have from before, and we just place them above every window. Here you can see one other way of rotating this object, and that is in Procedural Objects mode. I clicked and hold on the red circle without moving, and on the keyboard numpad I enter 90 and it rotated for 90 degrees. And here, as you already might have guessed, that the detailing is basically just replicating what we have in real life and just adding stuff that we see in real life as well. And for example, here I will be placing some lamps on each side of the entrance to make it also nicer and to give it even more detail. And to help myself doing that, I will be using prop line tool from the prop anarchy, and also I will be using move it to adjust the height and to place it in position. And as I already mentioned many times, Procedural Objects mod give you ability to change the shape of stuff, and this is the perfect way where you can just change one of the planters into another shape and have exactly what you want. Now you can combine this planter with any other planter tree you want and use Tree Anarchy mod to scale it up or down, or you can use Tree and Vehicle Props through mod and then turn them into Procedural Objects, and basically have a more advanced tool for customization. And as the last thing I want to show you in this video is how you can combine one simple planter you made earlier with many other trees and plants and get more variety. That is it for today, but before we go, I would like to say that everything you do in Procedural Objects, it's more or less trial and error, and playing with the mod and the abilities of the mod to get something custom and different. And all of the options and tools I showed you today in Procedural Objects mod, you can always try and apply to any asset you have at your disposal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to transform it as the way you want, because maybe the asset is not perfectly made, or you just didn't find the way you want to customize. But don't lose hope and just try and repeat, and eventually you will get to the result you want. Before we go and watch the final results of this tutorial, I want to say thank you for all the support to me and to my channel. I do hope that you've learned something today that you can apply to your detailed builds. And if anything was unclear about Procedural Objects mod, you can always leave your questions down in the comments, and I will of course answer them immediately when I see them. As usual, if you liked what you've seen in this video, you can always leave a like and also subscribe or ring a bell if you want to see more, and if you want to get notified about my new uploads. Thank you for watching, and till next time, stay safe and healthy.